Hey everyone, Restless Gardener here, featuring another plant today in my new plant series. And today I am going to tell you about Echinacea or coneflowers, which I'm pretty sure everybody knows about. You can't have a garden without coneflowers. Obviously a pollinator attractor. See the bumblebee up there, and I see other small bees flying around on here too. Though I have to admit, this year I've not seen a lot of pollinators yet, which is kind of concerning. I don't know if it's because we had a warm winter, dry spring. Who knows? Anyway, let's talk a little bit about coneflowers. So coneflowers are in the daisy family, and they are native to central and eastern United States. See my cat up there chasing something. They are hardy in zones 4 through 9, so a really versatile, tough perennial. And they're long blooming as well. So today is July 6th, and these have been blooming for several weeks already. So for me, they'll bloom from June through frost. Maybe if you're in a zone below mine, so maybe I'm in zone 7, 6, 7, depending. Maybe if you're in zone 4, they might bloom a little bit later. But they're pretty much an all summer bloomer. Again, they are low maintenance. You really don't have to do anything to them. You can deadhead them if you want to clean up the plant once they're done blooming. And that will stop them seeding and produce more blooms, but again, you do not have to do that. They're just going to bloom on their own. But if you don't want to see the dead flowers, you can certainly deadhead them. However, if you leave the seed heads, you'll be rewarded by attracting goldfinches who eat the seed heads, which is a nice thing to see. I typically cut mine back once they're done for the season because I don't like to see the black seed heads that stand in the winter. They will stand all winter. I mean, they might look pretty in some zones, but in our zone here, they just tend to go black, including the leaves, and I just don't like that look for the late fall and winter. So I let the goldfinches eat all the seeds, then I cut them back in late fall so that they just look neat and tidy for the winter. They, you know, I don't want to see all those black seed heads and leaves. These will readily self-seed. So this stand here, my gosh, it was probably originally 2 or 3 plants, and it's probably, gosh, 6 or 7 right now. It's tough to tell. They're kind of tight, but I definitely did not originally plant a stand that was this big. So they do readily self-seed, but they're not aggressive. So what we do is, you know, when we feel like the clump gets a little bit too big, we'll just separate them and move some. This is about to get moved at some point so that I can do something different here, but we have moved quite a few around the garden already. And if you want to stop that from happening, then definitely go ahead and deadhead them. Once the flowers fade, you can deadhead. Although if you have a lot of coneflowers, that's going to take a lot of time. It's not an aggressive plant, so it's not necessary. But if you don't want to have 10 plants after 5 or 6 years, then go ahead and deadhead them so that they do not self-seed. They are, there are many, many, many varieties. Too many hybrids to mention, to be quite honest with you. Obviously, the most popular is just the straight species, the Echinacea purpurea, which is a light color purple. Obviously, they come in many, many different colors, like orange, darker pinks, lighter pinks, different kinds of heads, flower heads. And you can see this one here is a little bit of a puffball as opposed to this kind of seed head. And you'll notice that those puffball ones do not attract pollinators. The more varieties they come up with that get further and further away from the straight native, the less pollinators you're going to attract. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, they are very, very readily available. Now, I'm in southeastern Pennsylvania, so obviously these are very easy for me to find. I would imagine these are pretty easy for most people to find, since they are such a popular plant, low maintenance. They can suffer, however, from some diseases and insects such as powdery mildew, aphids, and Japanese beetles. However, I have not had any problems. I have echinaceas all over my yard, and I have not once had to do anything to them. I don't even remember. I mean, we have Japanese beetles in our yard every summer, and they typically go after the roses and some of our other plants, but I don't remember ever having issues with coneflowers, and not powdery mildew even, and we get that on other flowers as well. So they're pretty darn low maintenance. And obviously a fun fact is that these have medicinal qualities. The Native Americans used to use them as a cough and cold remedy, and you can still buy Echinacea as a supplement today. I'm not exactly sure how well it works, but it is a medicinal plant. See another pollinator there. So there you go. My second feature plant, Echinacea. Comes in many varieties, low maintenance, blooms all summer, pollinator attractor. Comes in all different colors, including yellow and white, which I do have in other parts of my yard. So I hope you found this interesting and you learned something today. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next one. So here's an example of a yellow coneflower. I do not know the variety. I have so many. Just wanted to show you the yellow, which also has a bee on it. And believe it or not, these two up here, they do get quite a bit of shade. Like right now, this one is in mostly shade. This one's gotten a little bit more sun because it's taller, but they still do really well up here. And the clumps have gotten bigger. Now, I don't know if these varieties are sterile. Many of the hybrids are. So maybe that's why they haven't self-seeded. But I just wanted to show you an example of a yellow coneflower because I didn't have any down in the other section. Here's another really big clump of coneflowers that we had moved from in a different location. There's probably 15 of them here. Let's get around so we're not in the sun. And like I said, we moved these from a different location because they just really did self-seed to the point where there was too many of them where I had them originally, and they were starting to grow into other plants. So even though they do say many of the hybrids are not self-seeding, they are sterile, some of them still do produce seeds and reproduce. But you can see this is more of a natural wild area. This is my rain garden, and these are on the berm. And this is about, gosh, I don't know, 75 feet from the house. And you can definitely see these from the house. They come in so many colors, and they're just a bright spot. And they look great with other natives, such as these Heliopsis and Agasashi. Hopefully you can see that, not blinded by the sun.